3 of breaking mental barriers to achieve success. I believe that this is vital to the success of any business. It's vital to the success of individuals. It's vital to help you progress and to help you move along, especially in business. There's so many challenges in business today. There are so many challenges that we face that it's very important that we learn how to navigate through these challenges in order to succeed. So I'm going to ask for those that are coming on to please mute yourself. For those that are logging on to the Zoom directly, also if you have any questions, put them on the chat. And before I end the presentation, I will go to the chat room and answer those questions. For those of you that are online, you can leave your message right there, or you can inbox me and I will respond to those questions right after the program is off the air. Or you can send me your questions to Ramirez at morriscountydc.org. Again, Ramirez at morriscountydc.org. That way you can get those questions answered. You do not need their approval. Today we're going to start right there. It's where we left off last time. And, you know, I wrote something here. Don't trade your authenticity for other people's approval. Needing approval is saying your view of me is more important than my own view of me. Do you find yourself bending over backwards to receive approval from others? Approval seeking is a desire, and it should never become a necessity. Approval seeking becomes an erroneous zone when it becomes a need rather than a want. If you want approval, you are happy to receive the endorsement of others. However, if you need it, you are going to collapse if you do not get it. The first area of mental barrier is we've grown in a society that we feel we need approval. And we usually give value to the approval of someone else more than our own view of ourselves. So basically, we're no longer free. We've lost our freedom. We're more concerned with opinion. We're more concerned with what people think instead of the way we see ourselves or the way we think without the interference or the expectations of others. Do you find yourself bending over backwards to receive approval from others? You know, especially when you're in business. I tell people oftentimes, you know, you got to be very careful that when you're operating a business or you're operating the affairs of your life, or do you find yourself constantly bending over backwards just because you feel I need their approval? I need them to agree with me. I need them to accept what I'm saying. Approval seeking should be a desire. You know, we want people to approve our work or to approve our ideas, but you want to write this down. You want it, you desire it, but it should never become a necessity. You need to erase that and make sure that it's something that you want, it's something that you desire, but it's not something that you need. When the approval of others becomes a necessity, at that moment, we lose our freedom. At that moment, we lose our ability to think on our own. Don't give yourself away. We have here, I found this post, finding oneself while seeking approval of others means the murder of self. When approval seeking is no longer a want, but a need, you give a chunk of yourself away. And I think that that's one of the greatest battles when you want to succeed in life. You want to succeed is we give so much of ourselves away and never allowing ourselves to be who we have been created to be, who we are, my creativity, my desires, my dreams. But instead, we become the desires or the display or even the dream of someone else, because that's the way we've been accustomed to be. That's the way that even the school system, the public school system, has trained us to be. Seek approval. Their approval is more important than what you think of yourself or what you feel you should be doing, or whatever you feel is not important. It's more important what others feel. And we're going to break that. We're going to break that erroneous thinking. We're going to bring you back. You are self-destroying your worth. I want you to write that down. Your worth cannot be in somebody else's head. You cannot be the value that someone puts on you. You have to learn how to value yourself, value your skills, and value your opinions. You need to validate yourself. Oftentimes, from the time we start elementary school, because we want the little star that the teacher puts on the board. When you do something good, you get a little star. If you don't do it good enough, you don't get a star. And other kids got the star, but you didn't get the star. And you start to feel like, I have to measure up. I have to prove myself in order to get the little star, and in order for me to receive validation, in order for me to validate myself. When you're breaking that mental barrier, you have to stop destroying your worth. You have to know what you're worth. You have to know that your ideas are valuable. You have to know that you are valuable as a person. You can't put your approval into someone's hand, because at that moment you are no longer free. In order for you to feel self-actualized, or to feel I'm capable, I have great potential, if your approval is in someone else's hand, at that moment you stop being free. And mental barrier is that. A mental barrier is, I've lost my freedom. I don't know who I am. I don't know the way I should think. I don't know the way I should act. You start to put limits on yourself. Success comes when we have the freedom to agree or disagree with those within our circles. When you get to that place of breaking mental barriers, self-actualization, not needing the approval of other people, you get to that place of, I can agree and I can disagree. I have my own opinion. And I don't have to base my opinion on what the majority thinks. I have my own mind. I have my own thoughts. I think a certain way. I act a certain way. This is who I am. The moment we need others to validate us, our brain will only move as far as we are allowed. Now, I want you to listen to this. The moment we need others to validate us, our brains will only move as far as we are allowed by the controlling forces over us. Want and need must be clearly defined in our minds. See, I want approval, and I want to please, and I want to do a good job, and I want to succeed. But the moment want becomes I need validation, I need approval. I'm going to do all that I'm doing, not because I want to do it. I'm doing all that I'm doing because I want approval. I want to be accepted. I want to receive validation. So you're no longer doing it because you love to do it. It's hard work because you do it to get validated, and your approval is no longer within yourself. Your approval is now in somebody else's hand. So now somebody else is deciding your freedom. Somebody else is deciding what you should be thinking and how you should be acting, and in many instances, how you should be feeling. So what I want you to do is take that back. I want you to take that control back. That's way too much control to give, and we get into these mental barriers not because we're not capable, not because we don't have capability and ability. We get into those mental barriers because we've given too much of ourselves away, And our validation doesn't come from within. Our validation comes from without. Outside forces that we've given them control over us, and it is those forces that decide our happiness. So I want you to break free from that, because you're going to learn how to validate yourself and how to operate from within, not from without. How good do you feel? Look at this quote. Life is all about breaking mental barriers, leaping across and cleaning over those little invisible fences, dreaming the impossible dreams. How good do you feel? Do you feel good only when some outside force decides to administer some praise to you? Our creative side is stagnated if we depend on the approval of everyone before we make a decision to move forward with our own ideas. Don't you know that what's holding you back is that oftentimes you're waiting to get approval from everyone that you value in your life? And because you don't get 100% approval, you don't want to displease. And because you don't want to disappoint, you hold yourself from your creativity, from your ideas. Breaking mental barriers is this: I respect your opinion, but I cannot allow your opinion to control me. I cannot allow your opinion to keep me from moving forward with my ideas. Needing the approval of others must go. I want you to start programming your mind even today. I'm going to let it go. I don't need anybody's approval. I would like their approval. I want their approval. But even if I don't get their approval, I'm still going to move forward. I want you to get your power back. I want you to get your value back. I want you to get to that place in your mind that you know that you can move forward, even if everybody within your circle is not giving you their approval. No questions asked. Such need is a psychological dead end with absolutely no benefits accruing for you. Don't you know that one of the greatest mental barriers is that we live a life that's not our own life. The life that we lead, the life that we're living, is in somebody else's head. Our happiness is based on the affirmation we get from somebody external to us. I want you to flip that around. I want you to learn how to affirm yourself. If you're going to break those mental barriers, you got to learn to affirm, I am good, I'm going to succeed, I'm creative, I have great ideas, my business is going to succeed and it's not going to fail. My business is going to thrive. My business is going to move forward. In other words, you have to learn how to take control of yourself and not be so much the opinion of others, or give the opinions of others so much value that you don't accept the changes that you want to make from within. Ask yourself, can you accept disagreement without getting unhinged? Look, one of the things when you get to actual self-actualization, when you get to that place of mental freedom, is that people can disagree with you and you do not get unhinged. You do not get discouraged, disappointed. You lose it because someone disagrees with you. When you get to that place of mental freedom, even if people disagree with you, you're okay with them disagreeing with you. You don't become unhinged. You accept differences of opinion. Because what they do outside of you cannot penetrate you. Because only you have the control of your mind, of your thoughts. And your thoughts create your feelings. And your feelings create your actions. Can you stand on your beliefs and not be swayed because someone disagrees or disapproves of your belief system? Can you stand your own ground, your own opinions without having to change them, people enemies because they don't think or agree with you, making people your enemies. I want you to think about that. How easily are you swayed? You know, some people tell me, well, you know, I can't share my full opinion. I'm afraid to, because if I do, then some may disagree with me, or some may not join my team, or some may not. So you switch. We have people that are constantly swaying in their belief because they don't want to disappoint. So it's as if you don't have your own opinion. The opinion that you have is the opinion of the majority. We see it in an election year. You could be in a room with Republicans and you might say, I'm Republican and I stand for Republican. But then you stand in a room with Democrats and you say, well, I don't like those Republicans, I'm a Democrat. You could be in your church, your religious belief, and say, I believe. Or then you could be in a group of, let's say, atheists and say, well, I don't fully believe. In other words, you're constantly swaying, depending the group that you're with, because you don't want to disappoint, you don't want to offend. So then in reality, you gave up who you are. You've given up your opinion, your right to have an opinion, your right to think different from everybody else. Especially in the culture that we're living right now, if we don't all think the same, if we don't act the same, it's as if there's something wrong. It's like we're doing something wrong. It's as if we are disappointing people, and God forbid you have your own opinion. And if you have your own opinion, you need to fear for your life, or somebody's going to harm you, or somebody's going to hurt you. Look, you have to learn to stand on your own 2 feet. And you need to understand your belief system. And then you got to stand on that belief system without swaying. Because that's who you are. You know, stop being what somebody else wants you to be. Stop having the necessity for everybody to agree with you. The greatness of mental freedom is that diversity is good. Not all of us think the same way. We have to learn how to work together, and we have to learn how to respect the differences of opinions, and that's part of life. But imagine a world where everybody thinks the same. Everybody acts the same. We have given up freedom for conformity. Everybody thinks alike. And that's where the nation is heading. So we have to be very careful and be who you are, and feel good about who you are in order to be free in your mind. The effects of needing approval. Quote, the greatest prison people live in is the fear of what other people think. As a matter of fact, that will be one of the greatest downfall, that you don't live your whole life and never live the day of pure joy, true freedom, because you lived in the prison of what others think about you. Truth is all but wiped out. If people disagree, do you have a meltdown? No. People may agree, and even though they don't agree, because of your demeanor, demands approval, not truth. If you're the boss in your corporation, and every time your manager says, I disagree. If you have a meltdown and you show a display of anger, of being upset, every time your manager says, I think this way will work better. If you're a leader that you cannot stand people disagreeing with you, then understand this. You're a leader that wants approval, not truth. In other words, you don't want your employees to give you the truth of how they feel, to give you the truth even about their opinion. Because in your mind, all you want is approval, not truth. Can you state without fear what you feel, and what at any given time without fearing disappointing someone? Can you say, this is the way I really feel, this is the way this is what's really inside of me, this is what's really happening? Or Are you afraid to say what you really feel because somebody's going to get disappointed with you? If self-sacrificed to the opinions and predilections of others, we cannot be politicians. If we desire to build trust around us, we cannot be politicians. Don't you know that mental barriers come when you put your own foot in your mouth? And I tell leaders, I tell politicians, I've spoken to quite a few, be careful. Have a position. Stand on something. Stand on what you believe in. We cannot appease Group A and Group B by changing our script and saying what everybody wants to hear. We lose credibility when we refuse to take a stand and what we fully believe in and confidence for the things that we believe in. You cannot expect success if you're constantly changing your mind. If you're constantly appeasing Group A and Group B. If nobody knows what you stand on. See, a mental barrier is, I want the approval even if it costs me. So then you go to Group A and you do whatever you can, not to be truthful, but to get approval. And then you go to Group B. And you don't want to tell Group B that you really agree with Group A. But now when I go to Group B, I agree with everything Group B is doing because I don't want truth. I want approval. And you got to ask yourself that. Do I want truth or do I want approval? How do I navigate through life? Or if I become a prisoner of people's thoughts and people's ideas? It's very important. If you're going to break free from mental barriers, you got to be your own person. My own ideas, the decision that I make is because I feel internally this is the best decision. And I know you may disagree, and I respect your disagreement. But I want truth, not just approval, not just acceptance, not just affirmation. I want to be able to stand on my own decisions, my own opinions, and not necessarily want the approval of someone else. Why do we crave approval? Limitations only exist if you believe they exist. We don't trust ourselves to make our own decisions. Our culture is trained to seek reinforcement through approval-seeking behaviors. Independent thinking is unconventional. As all our lives, the educational system has been programming us how to think, how to act, and how to behave. Make someone else's opinion more valuable than your own. We feel less adequate if we do not receive the approval that comes from others. Example, you ask a child, do you want a piece of candy? It starts young. The cashier at the register can look at your child and say, hey, do you want a piece of candy? And because that child knows that maybe mom disapproves of him having candy at 12 noon, the first thing that child does, he looks at mom. And what is he looking for? He's looking for approval. Can I have a piece of candy? See, the cashier asked him, this is just an example, asked him, do you want a piece of candy? That's the question. But the child instead looks at mom, basically asking, do I want a piece of candy? Can I have a piece of candy? In other words, we're programmed from early on not to have our own opinion. See, because I'm sure if you ask that child his own opinion, he'd probably say, I want the candy. But because he knows that there may be consequences or there may be disagreement, he learns to yield what he wants and instead look at mom and ask mom, can I have the candy? Though that's not the question that's on the table. The question on the table is, what do you want? And we go through life doing this. We go through life accepting the opinions of others greater than the desires that we may even have for ourselves. We've settled for what other people want for us instead of us standing up for what we want. And that is one of the greatest mental barriers, especially in business and in life, that you're living what somebody else wants you to live because you've received their approval and you receive their affirmation and you receive their acceptance. But when you go to sleep at night, you're not happy with self because you've not been you. You've accepted what someone else has imposed on you. Breaking free from indecision. Let's go there. Think back. Any student who begins to show signs of self-actualization and personal mastery is quickly put in his place. Students who are independent, full of self-love, not susceptible to guilt and worry, are systematically labeled troublemakers. In other words, students that don't fit within the system that has been established are considered troublemakers because no one sees the uniqueness of them being them. They don't conform to the system. They don't fall into the four walls, into the barriers that have been set, into the cage that has been created for them. So the teachers right away say, your kid is a troublemaker. In other words, he or she, they do not conform to the prison, to the system we want to build around them. Schools are not good at dealing with kids who show signs of independent thinking. They don't want those kids to be independent. They want them to be dependent. Do as you're told. These are the rules. Follow the rules. You will succeed. If you do your own thing and you use independent thinking and that thinking does not fall within the rules of the organization, then you cannot be a part of this school. You're a troublemaker and you're disrupting the system. I will tell you something. An independent thinker will always disrupt the system. And it gets people crazy because you don't fall into the norms. You don't need approval. You don't need acceptance. You self-validate. You feel good about yourself. There's no mental barrier. What are people thinking about me? But those kind of people are unusual. They're usually the most successful. But they're also unusual because they cannot be put into a system. They cannot be put into a box. And many schools, approval seeking is the way to success. Take a kid taking his high school classes and ask, what would you like to take? Instead, they respond, why don't you pick my classes based on what you feel is best for me and what I need to succeed? Look, don't ask me what classes I want. You pick them for me. You direct me. You tell me what's best for me and what's going to help me to succeed. In other words, I just gave you my freedom. Not the courses that I want, not what I really want to study. But you know what? You choose, I follow. I have no say. And that's what happens in this educational system. We lose our say. We lose the value of self-worth. We then learn not to question what we're being told. We follow, but don't lead. See, when you break mental barriers, you start to lead. You respect opinion. You respect differences of opinion, but it doesn't internally affect you. You make decisions. I know what I want. I know where I'm going. You're decisive. You're not constantly confused. You're not constantly changing your mind. How many of you have said, I'm going to do this? And then because 10 of your friends say, I don't think that's good, you change your mind. How many of you, even in a relationship, you thought a guy was good or a girl, they were good for you, and you thought about it and you said, wow, I kind of like this girl. I kind of like this guy. But the moment your friend said, I don't like him, I don't like her, you changed your mind. Not because it was good for you or bad for you. You just changed your mind because somebody else said, I don't agree with this relationship. And because I don't agree, I expect you to dump her and not go that way. Same thing in business. How many of you have said, you know what? I think this is a good deal. I think this is a good contract. I think this could take our company further. You went into that meeting. You got pumped up. You got excited. Everything seemed to fall in exactly the way you wanted it to fall in. But then what happens? Somebody comes with an opinion and says, well, I don't think this is good for you. And without thinking of your own feelings, your own desires, your own projections, your own validation, you changed your mind and said, you know what, I think this is not going to work for me. And you know, you're right. I'm going to let the deal go. My friend, when we do that, we give up our self-freedom. And we're giving up freedom to get validation and acceptance from external forces. If you do that, you will never be free. You will never be able to do what you really want to do. You will always do what somebody else expects you to do or wants you to do. So that's very important. We lack confidence and must break free. Your only limit is on you. We learn all our lives how to do things to get approval from our parents, from our professors, co-workers, etc. In school, do you want it typed? We asked the professor, do you want it typed? How many pages? What is the format? When is it due? What books should I read? How many exams should I prepare for? How long do our papers have to be? These questions come from an approval seeker. And it's not the least bit surprising in view of the educational methods we've examined. In other words, I'm going to do whatever I have to do to get your approval. So if I got to do it on an 8x10, I got to do it APA style. We learn how to do things so that we can get a good grade and so that we can get approval of those that are higher than us or those that have the responsibility of giving us a grade. It's just the way our educational system works. The students have been trained to do it for someone else. I'm doing it the way I'm doing it because that's the way my professor wants it. That's the way my wife wants it. That's the way my children want it. The student has been trained that it must measure to the standard set by someone else. We live in a system that requires approval seeking for survival. We feel safe in conformity and no out of the box thinking. Have you ever been in an organization that you cannot think out of the box? You cannot think creatively. Or even in your personal life. Do you have the freedom just to be you? Just to think out of the box and say, you know, this is what I want to do and I feel to do it and I think I should go for it. Or are you easily swayed? Behave a certain way or be punished if you don't. Now, as kids, we learned that from our parents. You better behave. You better sit there, be quiet, don't say a thing, or else. So we learn how to adjust. And not that that's bad, because there are rules and regulations wherever you go. But how many things or how many situations do we put rules and regulations on ourselves that rules and regulations are not really needed? And we've lost ourselves and we've lost our freedom and we've lost our mental freedom of being who we were created to be. We become codependent on other people. We depend on validation. We depend on them approving. We lack confidence. I don't dare take a risk because we've been programmed that if you fail, it's a bad thing. No, if you fail, it's a learning opportunity. I'm here to tell you, it's better to fail than to never have tried. Because you don't want to go through life saying, I could have, I should have, I might have, And I didn't succeed because, you know what? I put limitations on myself. Breaking free from mental barriers is you saying today, I'm breaking free. I'm breaking every mental barrier today. I'm going to do what I've been called to do. I'm moving forward, and I will not stop until I get to the top. I'm getting my confidence back. Break free from conformity. The government and religion use approval seeking as a motivator for conformity. Everybody dress the same. Everybody think the same. Everybody walk the same. Don't trust yourself. In other words, we live in a system that teaches you don't trust yourself, you're going to fail. Because if you trust yourself and it doesn't work, then you're responsible. You're going to carry the consequences. You're going to carry the price. You haven't got the skills and wherewithal to function alone. We'll take care of you. You know, the government says we'll withhold your taxes because you will spend them before the tax bill is due. So every paycheck, we're going to take out your taxes to take that responsibility away from you because we don't trust you if you get that extra money for you to pay your taxes on your own. So we're going to withdraw it from your paycheck so that you don't have to worry about it. We'll force you to join Social Security because you won't be able to decide for yourself to save for retirement. So we're going to take from every paycheck something and pay towards Social Security. So at one point in your life, you will have retirement because we don't trust you to make those decisions. We have become robots of our society, culture, and even religion, where if we think our own thoughts, somehow we have violated the whole system. Conformity works when we no longer rely on self-ability, but put our faith and rely on the systems that have been established before us. We are forced to live within a system where we have no choice. And I think that is the biggest mental barrier. That's the biggest erroneous zones in our lives, that we live in conformity. We think alike, we walk alike, and we can't disagree. You know, when I was growing up, we could debate. Today, we cannot debate issues because it needs to be conformity, and conformity doesn't work for everybody. You got to get to the place of knowing who you are and that you're a unique individual with unique ideas, unique dreams, unique desires. And you need to launch forward and say, you know what, I'm breaking these mental barriers and I'm going to succeed. I'm going to move forward and do what I feel I can do and begin to succeed in every aspect of my life, because I'm not going to conform to a system the rest of my life and that system limit me from my greatest potential. I want to see you breaking through, breaking out. You got to get to that place of breaking free from fear and breaking free from the opinions and the approvals of others. Cultural approval seeking song phrases, you know, breaking barriers. I started looking at, you know, some signals that are being sent out there by some of the songs that we know, some of the phrases in some of the songs. I can't live if living is without you. I want you to think about that statement. I can't live if living is without you. You make me so very happy. You make me feel like a natural woman. You're nobody till somebody cares. It all depends on you. You make me feel brand new. As long as he needs me. If you go away, etc., etc. In other words, all these phrases are approval seeking songs. I can't live without you. You make me feel happy. You make me feel like a natural woman. You're nobody till somebody cares. So what we've done is we've created a culture of approval seeking. So if we don't get that approval, then we feel less fulfilled, less human, less powerful, and we need to break free from that. Instead, how about we change some of those lyrics? Now, we might not even sell a record if we change them around. Because whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you are right. I make myself feel like a natural woman. It has nothing to do with you. You imagine if somebody wrote a song like that? Well, it has nothing to do with you. I make myself feel like a natural woman. I choose to love you. I must have wanted to do it then, but now I've changed my mind. People who need people are the unluckiest people in the world. But people who want love and enjoy people are making themselves happy. I make myself so very happy because of the things I tell myself about you. I am the sunshine of my life, and having you in it makes it even brighter. I can stop loving you, but at this point, I choose not to. We have to stop believing our freedom is dependent on someone else giving it to us. Your freedom is yours, and you decide your own worth and your own happiness. In other words, to get mental freedom, you got to get to the place of I get my power back. I get my opinions back. I get my value back. I get who I am back. Instead of just conforming, instead of giving that power away, you make me happy. You make me successful. You make me who I am. No, I am who I am. I allow you to be a part of my life. In other words, mental barriers break when we take authority and we take self back. Our approval, our sense of belonging, our sense of being is not in somebody else's head. But we take that control back and we do what we can when we can. We honor people, we bless people, we approve people, we work with people, but people no longer control us. That's the only way you're going to become successful. When you get to that place of my mind is so free, it's no longer controlled by circumstance, it's no longer controlled by people. My mind is my mind, and I've got total freedom. All right, how to break the approval-seeking mental blocks. How do I break this? How do I go from impossible to possible? Number one, change your belief or position because someone else disapproves. You got to get to the place, no, I'm not changing. If you disapprove, I respect you. But this is my position. And I don't need to change my mind because you disapprove of the way I believe. Sugarcoating a statement to avoid the reaction of displeasure. Stop sugarcoating. If you got to say what's in your mind, say what's in your heart. Now do it with gentleness and respect, but be truthful. You know, it's like the boss gives you an idea. You know the idea really sucks. The idea is not good based on your experience. And you tell the boss, go for it, because you're more concerned with approval than truth. I tell my team, I prefer truth than just approval. And you work and make adjustments. That's when you have a true relationship. Apple polishing in order to make someone like you. Feeling depressed or anxious when someone disagrees with you. There's some people that feel, I don't have my freedom. You got to agree with me. And if they disagree, you're up all night, you're anxious, you're sad, you're depressed because someone disagrees with you. I've learned as a business professional, as a leader, people are going to disagree with me, but I stand on my own 2 feet, especially when I believe in something. Now, again, you respect, you value differences of opinion, but you don't have meltdowns when people disagree with you. Feeling insulted or put down when someone states a different sentiment to your own. Today, we live in a society that people easily get offended. just because I don't feel like you. I don't feel like you maybe in religion. I don't feel like you maybe in politics. I don't feel this is the course the company should go. And that's okay. Just because someone doesn't feel like you does not mean you get all offended and feel insulted or insult someone. Learn how to stand on your own 2 feet, and that people disagreeing with you is okay, is all right. It's not going to kill you. The same way when you put out an opinion or you put out what you believe in, if someone doesn't agree with you, that's okay. Being excessively agreeable and head nodding, even when you don't agree at all with what is being said. Learn to control yourself. You know, sometimes we end up being like the chameleon. We switch and we're going, yes, yeah, I agree. When inside your heart, you're like, no, I don't agree. No, I don't think that's the course, the best course for the company, or the best course for my life, or the best course for my marriage, or the best course for schooling. And we get ourselves in trouble because we live in a system that seeks so much approval that we end up doing a lot of this when in reality we should be going like this. And then we say yes, and then we're upset, and then we're angry. Simple example. Your sister asked you to babysit. It was on a Saturday. You and your husband had plans. And in your heart, you're going, no, this is the weekend that I'm going to spend it with my husband or with my wife. But the family member insisted that you babysit. And you end up saying, okay, bring the baby over, I'll babysit. And change all your plans because you're excessively agreeable. And some people will take advantage of you if they know that your head is always going like this and you don't have the courage from within to say, no, I can't do it this weekend, or I'm not going to do it this weekend. Learn how to stand on your own 2 feet. And just because you want to please, not always saying yes, hurting yourself, and sometimes hurting your company, and sometimes even hurting your family. Sometimes when you say no to something, you're really saying yes to something else. Saying things that you don't mean just to avoid being disliked. You know, I could go to a networking event and hear someone talking. And if it doesn't sound right, it's probably not right. Again, they just want the approval. They want to be liked. So they say whatever they have to say to fit in. They say whatever they have to say in order to be accepted, in order to be in the mix, but they don't really feel it. They don't really believe it. You know, learn how to stand on your own 2 feet. And it goes both ways. I tell people it goes in self-actualization, self-growth. And stop saying yes to everything. You know, some leaders are not successful. And I'll tell you why they're not successful. They're not successful because they're yes people. They say yes to everything. They're afraid of being disliked. So they will say whatever they have to say, lie, cheat, whatever they got to do just to be liked. When you get to the place of breaking those mental barriers, you don't need that approval. You know how to say, I disagree. You know how to say, well, that's not the way I want to go. Now, if you're the boss and you get offended, you've got the problem. Because you want your team to be truthful, not agreeable. And it goes both ways. Trying to impress others even when you know you are faking it until you make it. I hate that expression. You know, my wife and I often say, you know, I hate it when I hear people fake it until you make it. I don't believe in that at all. I believe you're real and you're sincere and you don't need to fake anything. I believe in realness. I believe in transparency. I believe that as a leader, you will gain credibility when you're totally transparent, not faking it until you make it. I don't believe in that statement at all. It's time to break free. Share your heart and your feelings based on what you really feel and not on what is expected of you. Share your true heart. Share your true feelings. Not, well, this is what they expect, so this is the way I'm going to go. Speak your belief and opinions, not getting easily offended if others disagree with you. Don't flip-flop on issues because you desire the approval that comes from the majority. Be honest with yourself. Live the life you are designed to live and not the life that has been created by the opinion and acceptance of others for you. Let people like you for authentic you, not image created by others of you. I tell people the biggest mental barrier is that you cannot be yourself. Many of us have masks on, and it's not because of COVID. Many of us have masks on, and we can't be ourselves. We cannot be authentic me because God forbid I say I like this or I like that, because if somebody disagrees with me, then it's going to cause a meltdown. So I prefer to deny myself, just be the image, just be what people think of me, and never show real me. Because to show real me would somehow cause people not to like me. Be honest with your feelings, dreams, desires, and vision for the future, and let no one misguide you. It's time for my breakthrough. I want you to say that. We're almost done. I want you to say right now, write it down. It's time for my breakthrough. Here are a few strategies I've learned to break through the mental barriers to success. Number one, you have to get rid of stinking thinking. So many times we want to throw positive thoughts on top of poisonous soil. You must cultivate positive thinking. You must guard your thinking. You must regularly, daily, reprogram your mind. Take time to meditate. Take time to be alone. Take time to break those erroneous zones in your life. I want your approval, but your approval is not my necessity. I will survive without your approval. When you get to that place, you have reached mental freedom. Reprogram your mind. Be proud of who you are. Remove your fear of failure. You need to understand that failure will not harm or kill you. It is there to show you what your mistakes are and teach you what you need to know. Throughout life, you go through hardships before you grasp the lesson. Do what you are afraid of. For instance, if you're afraid of public speaking, start speaking to your family in a room until the fear starts to dissipate. Start talking in front of small groups. What you fear the most, do. Go for it. Challenge yourself. Because eventually you will overcome that fear. Use your doubts as a motivator. Doubt is an indication. See, I tell people I use my doubt as a motivator. Why? Doubt is an indication that you are moving yourself out of your comfort zone. Don't you know that when we doubt ourselves, it's because all of a sudden we're being challenged? We're going in deeper than we've ever gone before. And the reason we doubt is because oftentimes it's unfamiliar territory. Get to that place in your life where you say, you know what? I'm going to use my doubt as a motivation that I'm moving into a zone I've never been in before, and I'm going to conquer it, I'm going to defeat it, and I'm going to succeed. Check your reality. What we perceive is not always accurate. One of the things that I tell people often is this: learn how to navigate through your fears. Learn how to stand on your own 2 feet. Learn that not everything is always going to work out the way you planned it to work out. Believe in yourself. Trust in your capabilities. Trust in your abilities that you are going to succeed. That you want approval. I want it. I want to work within a healthy environment. But that approval is not a necessity. It's just a want. It's a desire. But I no longer want to be controlled. I no longer want to be manipulated. I want to be me. I want to have freedom to think my thoughts. I want to have freedom to believe the way I believe. I want freedom to step out in faith and do what I feel is best for my organization, for my family, for those around you, whatever it is you're doing. Break the mental barriers of limitation. I want you to believe in yourself. I want you to trust yourself. And I want you to break yourself free because you can. Break those erroneous zones out of your life. Well, that's all I have for today. And I want to thank you for partnering with the Morris County Chamber of Commerce. And I want to thank you for partnering with the Morris County Economic Development Corporation. It is my desire to help you break free from mental barriers